and welcome back to Good Nightmare, a podcast where we talk about the creepiest side of life. Before we start, I'd like to share with you a special treat from Studio Sweden just for my listeners. I've recently switched up my headphones to Studio Sweden's Regent in black, and I'm in love. The design is sleek and comfortable, and they have 24 hours of active battery life, so you won't have to be worried about being strapped to your laptop, or if you're like me, violently tearing your headphones off when you try to get up from the laptop that you're still connected to. You can even customize them with caps that you can put onto your Regent headphones to mix up your look. You can now get 15% off your purchase using my discount code GOODNIGHTMARE. And on top of that, they have worldwide free shipping. I'm already picking out my next pair. Today's episode was one recommended to me by my dear friend Abby. You guys most likely know her on Twitter as Dumb Ravioli or Promote the Pods. Abby was one of the first supporters of me as a person and also my podcast when I decided to branch out on my own. In the early days when I was looking at episode ideas, I wanted something a little bit different that I hadn't necessarily heard of myself. And Abby came through with the goods. She gave me about 5 different cases to explore, and today I've chosen one of those. As you probably know from the title and description of the episode, today we are talking about Myrtles Plantation. Built in 1796 in Francisville, Louisiana, by General David Bradford, Myrtles Plantation is known as one of America's most haunted homes. Bradford was a rebel, a lawyer, a deputy attorney general, and a fugitive. He built the first house on South Main Street, Washington, Pennsylvania in 1788 and later went on to build Myrtles Plantation in 1794, which was then known as Laurel Grove. Bradford was living alone at Myrtles Plantation as he'd been on the run from the government for being associated with the Whiskey Rebellion. He was later pardoned and returned to his original home in Pennsylvania to live with his wife and 5 children. While Bradford did move away from the plantation, he didn't abandon it. When he passed away in 1808, the plantation was left to his wife Elizabeth, who would run it until 1817, before passing its management to Clark Woodruff. Woodruff was a former law student of Bradford's and actually went on to marry his daughter, Sarah Matilda. Woodruff and Sarah would have 3 children together. However, unfortunately, Sarah and 2 of her babies perished from yellow fever. When Elizabeth Bradford passed in 1831, Clark and his only remaining daughter moved away and left a caretaker to look after the plantation. In 1834, the plantation was sold, including the slaves and land. Sterling and his wife Mary would be the new owners. They undertook a renovation of the house, doubling its size and importing European furniture to fill the new space. They changed the name to the Myrtles after the trees that grew around the property. Sterling passed away in 1854, leaving the plantation to his wife Mary. Finding herself alone, Mary hired William Drew Winter to assist in managing the plantation. Winter married Sterling's daughter Sarah, and they had 6 children together, one of whom unfortunately passed away at home from typhoid at only 3 years old. The family lost their fortune after the Civil War and were forced to sell the plantation in 1868, though they did buy it back 2 years later. Before we get to the ghost stories and the interesting parts, I just want to tell you a little bit more about Studio Sweden Regent headphones. These are the over-the-ear style, which I prefer for editing and recording my podcasts. The sound is clear, the style is comfortable, and they're customizable, like I said. I'm thinking of getting myself some black marble cups for mine so I can mix up my style, although no one will see them while I'm recording at home in my bedroom. Don't forget to use the code GOODNIGHTMARE for 15% off your purchase. There'll be a link in the show notes that you can follow direct to their website. William Drew Winter was murdered on the porch of the house by alleged suspect E.S. Weber, a stranger to William. Mary later died in 1880, leaving the plantation to her son, who sold it on in 1889. From here, the home goes from hand to hand, being sold and altered and accumulating stories of strange occurrences and hauntings. In what sounds like a typical horror storyline, the plantation is rumoured to have been built on an ancient Tunica Indian burial ground. It's apparently home to at least 12 ghosts, and while there are reports of at least 10 murders at the house, the only confirmed murder is that of William Drew Winter on the porch. As mentioned, Winter was shot by a stranger. It's then said that he staggered inside the home and attempted to climb the stairs for help or for safety. It was on the 17th stair that he perished. Some say that this is as far as he could get before expiring, and others say that this is the step on which his wife met him in his final moments. Visitors and employees at what is now the bed and breakfast claim to be able to hear his footsteps as he eternally staggers upstairs for help. Others claim that they've seen his ghost, staggering and crawling up the stairs only to collapse on the 17th step. There's also rumour of a young female ghost. There's not much background to this particular one, though it would have been interesting to learn more about her. It's claimed that this young woman died in 1868 in the plantation home. Guests and staff have claimed that she still haunts the room in which she died, and will often practice voodoo on sleeping people. During the Civil War, the house was ransacked. This is a confirmed fact. However, it's rumoured that 3 people were killed in the house during this event. That's unconfirmed. But facts or no facts, as we'll come to see, there are still rumours of a bloodstain in a doorway the size of a human body that can't be cleaned or removed. Facts generally don't factor in too much when there's tales of hauntings. We'll definitely see that in this last and most detailed account. Chloe, also known as Cleo, was a slave owned by Clark and Sarah Woodruff during their ownership of the plantation. It's said that Clark had forced Chloe into becoming his mistress. Chloe was mischievous and would listen at keyholes, apparently, to learn the news of the family's business and their personal lives. One day, when she was caught listening at a keyhole, either by Sarah or Clark, they ordered her to have one of her ears cut off as a punishment. Since that day, she would wear a green turban to hide her scars. Chloe apparently baked a cake containing an extract from extremely poisonous oleander leaves. Her motive for this is unconfirmed, though some believe it was to rid the home of other maids, possibly seen as competition. Another theory is that she intended to poison Clark and Sarah and then nurse them back to health to regain their favour. Either way, her plan didn't work. Sarah and her 2 daughters apparently ate the cake and subsequently died of the poisoning. It's said that Chloe was then hanged by other slaves as punishment, and her body was thrown into the Mississippi River. The strangest thing about this tale is that no one has any idea where it came from. The Woodruffs are not recorded to have been slave owners, and while there is a claim that Sarah and her 2 daughters were killed, Mary, one of the supposed victims, actually lived a long life. Sarah and her family died from yellow fever, not poisoning. Regardless of these unconfirmed rumours, visitors still claim to see a woman in a green turban walking the plantation. In addition to this, it's rumoured that Sarah and her children's spirits were trapped in a mirror in the house upon their death. The mirrors were left uncovered when they died, confusing their spirits and stopping them from passing on to the afterlife. Employees and guests have claimed that they'll often see handprints appear on the glass of the mirrors, or in worse cases, see the faces of the young women. I personally believe in ghosts, at least in the sense that each person leaves behind an energy of some sort when they pass away. I think that being open-minded about these things adds a little bit of mystery to life that can be both fun and creepy. I would love to hear about your favourite haunting stories or perhaps ghost tours that you've been on. Personally, I've never been on one because I'm terrified that I will see, hear, or feel something. And with my seemingly chronic sleep deprivation, that's pretty common for me anyway. You guys can get in touch with me via email at goodnightmare_s@outlook.com. Otherwise, I'm always lurking on social media on Twitter and Instagram, where you can reach me at goodnightmare_s. Like most of you know, I'm very approachable, so feel free to message me. I'm always up for a chat. Stay tuned for a promo from another fantastic podcast, and I am looking forward to chatting to you guys again soon. Sweet dreams.
Hi, I'm Roseanne, host of California Dreaming, a podcast that brings you true crime tales from the Golden State. If you'd like to hear the story of the dog mauling death in San Francisco, or the North Hollywood bank robbery shootout, or the murder of beloved funny man Phil Hartman, or maybe even the spree killer who took the life of fashion icon Gianni Versace, check those stories out and more by listening to California Dreaming on the Orbital Jigsaw Network.